Three distinctive periods have marked my life. The first period encompassed my youth before German socialism or Nazism. The second period covered my youth, adult life before Soviet socialism or communism. The third period of my life began in America. During the first period of my life, gigantic demon-strations were prevailed in Europe. Mobs shouted, "Peace, peace, peace." The Nazis themselves called for peace, as they took Europe piece by piece. Democracies began to give in little by little until immediately they gave completely. They participated in Munich Peace Conference that was to conclude peace in our time. Munich did relieve temporarily many weary minds, and although a people, my people, the Czechs, had been sacrificed, many felt that they have finally arrived at some sort of peace. Churchill protested, "If you do not fight for what is right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you do not fight when the victory will be easy and not too costly, the moment may come when you will have to fight with all the odds against you and with only precarious chance of survival. You may even have to fight when there is no hope of victory, for it is better to perish than to live as slaves." This call for a fight brought cries of plutocrats, warmonger, imperialist, mass murderer, an enemy of the people from many Europeans. 2 years later, when the German socialists and Soviet socialists had invaded the independent Republic of Poland, and the Western powers had thought it necessary to defend themselves, Churchill was called to lead a flight for the ultimate survival. During the second part of my life before communism, Europe experienced mass movements and demonstration once more, all in the name of peace and justice. Czechoslovakia, my country, believed in her historical mission. Her people proudly proclaimed themselves to be the bridge linking the Western democracies with Eastern totalitarianism, capitalism with communism. Czechoslovaks did their best to prove their good intentions to the Marxist-Leninists, but in their approach to the Marxist-Leninist aggressors, the Czechoslovaks made a crucial mistake. They forgave and forgot that the Marxist-Leninist has done to millions of their own people in the Soviet Union and to the other peoples of the world. We must be reminded that to forgive is divine, but to forget is idiotic. The step leading to the downfall of once prosperous Czechoslovakia had been identified by scholars as a blueprint for a Marxist-Leninist takeover through peaceful means. The same steps have been at work in all parts of the free world. The symptoms of this vanishing democracy are, internationally, the agonizing atmosphere of Munich, which rejects the responsibilities of collective security and maintain the conception that democracies can save their existence by appeasing the power appetite of totalitarian aggressors. Number 2, nationally, the delusive thinking of conscience-stricken democratic leaders who believe that constant concessions to aggressive minority groups, manipulating nationality against nationality, class against class, race against race, and threatening with violence and revolution will bring about in the long run the desired equilibrium of order and justice in the country. Number 3, legislatively, hasty laws of broad social and economic reforms by old-fashioned politicians that imitate the so-called successful socialist countries undermine the upper and middle-class backbone of the country and gradually replace the initiative of free enterprise system with the bitter impotence of mushrooming bureaucracy. Number 4, administratively. The creation of deceptive coalition National Front, virtually functioning as an instrument of international communism to brainwash the population, infiltrate public offices, and channel all organs of federal and state power towards the communist takeover. Number 5, judicially. Institutionalized permissiveness with the unchallenged growth of criminality, leading to outright plundering of entire regions, of conditioning the public to feeling of general insecurity and fear. Number 6, morally. Common rejection of absolute values such as truth, honesty, decency, patriotism as outlived and impractical, especially among the youth brought up under the impact of unprincipled progressive education. Number 7, spiritually. General abandonment of Judeo-Christian belief in life under God and man's responsibility as a free moral agent, alternate by seductive demagoguery of materialist humanism and secular collectivism. Many countries in our present world find themselves in the wrecking process that Czechoslovakia went through before February 1948. They are headed down the bankrupt road of one-party political system to bureaucratic socialism, materialist humanism, and collective cynicism. Since my arrival in the free world, the third period of my life, I have witnessed the same demonstration for peace and the same impotence free people challenging by the expanding Marxist-Leninist ideology of arbitrary invasions, expropriations, and deportations. I have witnessed the same fragmentation of originally proud nations into selfish minorities, of helpless minorities into antagonistic classes, of decimated classes into manipulated classes, and of terrorized masses into obedient robots toiling under the yoke of the same totalitarian despots. The latest immigration in history goes on. People continue to flee the existing tyranny, poverty, despair, and fraud in the frantic attempt to save their lives and their human dignity. The fatal intellectual environment is so present. The ideological alienation of man from God is compounded by ethical alienation of man from man, by the psychological alienation of man from himself, and the ecological alienation of man from nature. Its features are unchanged. Secular materialism, the operating assumption that the temporal horizon is all that there is, all that man ever needs to consider, continues to represent a tragic fundamental bias and to permeate every aspect of life. Number 2, irrationalism. The concept that the universe does not necessarily make sense continues to deny man the hope to deal with basic issues. Number 3, relativism. The peculiar notion that nothing is good or bad in itself, and that everything is either better or worse when compared with some alternative, continue to give reason on an excuse to merely discriminate rather than finally decide. For syncretism in philosophy, the decay of speculative thinking, which eliminates the search for ultimate truth, continues to synthesize everything, including irreconcilable polarities. As a result of this intellectual environment, individuals are tormented by a confusion of twisted tensions and find themselves overcome by the meaninglessness of life.